into the mountains. There's something about the serenity of those mountains and their individual nature and the trees. I guess it comes with age. But places like Allegheny Highlands Trail, Deep Creek Lake, Rocky Gap, it's always great to be with all of you from Mountain Maryland who love the spirit of that place and defend it so well. I think PACE, of course, as you know, stands for Positive Attitudes Change Everything. Perhaps we should make that the state motto for these next few years as we battle our way out of this recession. I think all of us are here today at PACE because we reject the notion that as Marylanders, our kids won't enjoy a better quality of life. In fact, I think one of the biggest things that confronts us is not the positive attitudes that change everything, but the negative attitudes that make change impossible. And there's a fear gripping the whole country that somehow we might be the last great generation of Americans that's able to look our grandkids in the eyes in our golden years and say, you're going to enjoy more opportunities, not less. You're going to enjoy a better quality of life, not a lesser quality of life. You're going to enjoy more educational opportunities, not fewer, than we did. I mean, I think that's the greatest freedom of being an American, is the ability to work hard in our own lifetimes to make things better for the next generation. So we've got to overcome that fear. But I think that all of you here at PACE reject the notion that our best days are behind us. Our best days can be in front of us. It won't be easy, but nothing worth doing is easy. As Marylanders, we've always believed that our tomorrows will be better than our today, if we choose to accept our own responsibility to make it so. And in times of adversity, I don't know what it is, but for something about our people, in times of adversity, people of our state, we don't make excuses, we make progress. And that's what we need to do now. That's what we are doing in many instances now. And in that spirit, I want to speak with you in as clear a way as I can about the choices that we have to make together this session. And they're tough. The only thing I can guarantee you about this budget that was a long time in making is that nobody's pleased with it. Not the sort of budget that anybody lights off the confetti can and stands up and applauds. It's not good. It's not easy. All of this is tough, and no one's happy about it. I can go to any county in the state, and that county will say, well, how come you cut us this way? And all I can encourage you to do is look at the totality of the choices that we had before us. And yes, there's some special things here and there, and there's some formulas that affect some others in different ways than others. We were mindful of all of those things. And I'll tell you, ever since the election and even before it, I had many a meeting with our budget secretary where they would bring in this Rubik's Cube of unpopular choices arrayed in a way that made the math balance. But if this were simply a mathematical exercise, we could have wrapped it up all in the first meeting. Any nitwit can balance a budget. That's just math. It's just making sure your pluses and your minuses, and you wind up on an equal space at the end of the ledger page. That's easy. Any nitwit can balance a budget. What's hard, and what we need to work together to do, is to balance this budget after the huge loss of revenues we've all experienced because of the loss of jobs and therefore the loss of revenues, and to do that in a way that protects our priorities as best we can so that we can come out of this thing ahead of other states. The total amount of cuts and spending reductions, because I think the total amount of spending reductions and cuts now amounts to $6.6 billion in spending reductions over the last 5 years. And I can guarantee you, none of you ever heard Lieutenant Governor and myself campaigning through Western Maryland 5 years ago saying, vote for us, we'll cut $6.6 billion out of your state government operations. But this is the reality that we had to deal with. These were the cards we were dealt as a country. These were the cards that Maryland has to weather. We have, and the only way to do that is with shared sacrifice. We now, get this factoid, 87 cents of every state dollar that is invested, that is spent on our collective, your individual behalf, our collective good, 87 cents out of every dollar goes to public education, public health, or public safety. That's 87% of every dollar. So naturally enough, and it's not unreasonable, people say, I want our government to be smaller, you all need to make sure you get rid of the waste, make it smaller, cut out the fat, and protect those priorities of public education, public health, and public safety. Well, the other 13% are the courts, the other 13% are Department of Natural Resources, the other 13% is travel and tourism, the other 13% is Department of Agriculture, the other 13% is everything else that isn't public safety, public health, or public education. And get this, public education is now 50 cents out of every one of the dollars, your state tax dollars that we spend, goes to education. And we're proud of what we've done on education. I mean, the strides that have been made in public schools in Garrett County, the public schools of Allegheny County. I wish the whole state could figure out how to do what Garrett County's done in terms of making college more affordable for more kids, guaranteeing them an ability to go on to the community college, regardless of their We've done some great things together, and we should be proud of those things. We can't gloss over the pain of the present, but we're heading towards better times, and we're going to come out of this because of the strides and the gains that we've made. Never happened before, but we were named the #1 public schools overall among the 50 states. Not just once, it happened in the middle of the recession.